Ready to take this thing down. Our drink. Ah, yes. Install the main nozzle in the carburetor body before installing the main jet. I don't know what I did. This one. We're gonna have to get a new one of those too. Nah, we don't need this. Hey everybody, my name is Trevor and welcome back to Sailing Fujin. Last time we took the boat out in some pretty strong wind and we really put this new standing rigging the previous owner installed to the test. Unfortunately, while we were out there, we tore the mainsail and it's just like a 4-inch tear and we're gonna have to take that in to get it repaired. So I called around and I got a quote from Mainsail and they said they could repair the 4-inch tear for around somewhere between $50 and $200. So today we're gonna take down the mainsail, get it all folded up and put it in my truck and get it prepared to take over to Long Beach to Mainsail's. Also, we have a couple small projects I'm going to complete today, which involve just putting on new stickers on the breaker panel, on the DC breaker panel. The previous owner ordered these new stickers just for a couple things, for the autopilot, for the new natural gas stove, and for the chart plotter here. So the labels were wrong before. So the other thing is, while we were out there during that storm, the interior cushions, they got thrown about all over the cabin. It was a complete mess, you know. There's no way for the cushions, the backs, to stay against the bulkheads inside the boat. So we ordered some Velcro from Amazon, some really strong stuff. I think it's made by 3M, and we're going to go ahead and apply those on the back of the seats. So those are the two small projects I wanted to get done today, just a small starter for this episode, so let's get at it. So I started off by removing these old, worthless Velcro buttons. They might have worked well at one point, but it seems that they had lost their grip over the decades. After I removed the old Velcro, I busted out the trusty 409 cleaner and sprayed down the surface where the new Velcro would stick to. Soon after that, it was time to apply the new heavy-duty name brand Velcro. When I finished applying the Velcro to all the settee cushions, I let them sit for a full 24 hours so they could completely adhere before trying them out. Now that that was finished, it was time for the simple task of replacing the DC panel labels. The old labels came off very easy with the use of a box cutter. I then cleaned up the surface with some camera lens wipes in preparation for the new labels. Now the DC panel was all labeled correctly and looking much cleaner. Shortly after finishing that project, my friend Landon arrived to help me remove the mainsail.
We're gonna have to get a new one of those too.
Oh yeah. All right. We're ready to take this thing down. Hey everybody, I'm here in Alamitos Bay. It's been a couple days since I took my mainsail off of my mast. So I've just drove down here to bring my mainsail into Mainsail. A guy named Brian is taking care of me. Really cool mom and pop kind of shop, so he's going to have it here for a couple of days, and I'll come back and come pick it up when it's all ready to go. But in the meantime, we're heading down to Newport, back to the Suzuki dealership, to get a couple more spare parts for the Outboard so I can finally work on that repair tomorrow. Once we get all these parts from the dealership, we're going to head back to San Pedro, and tomorrow morning we will start working on that Outboard engine. Good morning everybody, we are here in my workshop, aka the carport. And unfortunately I don't have a garage, so I just have to work in here, and it's just going to have to do for now. I spent the last 20 to 30 minutes sweeping the place out, setting up the lighting up here, and getting our little workbench set up. All of our supplies that we picked up from Mauer Marine are sitting right here. We also have our little plan of attack here, our outboard motor plan of attack that I wrote up last night. I'm kind of a methodical person, so I kind of like having something to follow that doesn't really get me off track. So yeah, we're going to kind of strictly follow that until things probably go wrong, which they probably will. But yeah, so we're going to start out with some simple tasks. We're going to change the oil, the engine oil and the motor first, then we're going to move to the gear oil, and then it's just going to get more difficult as the tasks go on and as the plan goes on. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right in and start getting that oil changed now. So we started off with the easiest project on our list, which was changing the engine oil. We didn't really run into any issues with this one, except one of the mounting brackets was kind of frozen up, so we used a little bit of PV Blaster to get that engine level. Once we had the engine level, we were able to add the rest of the oil. After that, we moved on to the next project, which was changing the gear oil. And again, we pulled out the PB Blaster to free up those bolts so we could start draining. Ah, yes! After the oil was draining, I proceeded to fill up the tank from the bottom, as the instructions said. However, I was having a little bit of trouble with this because it kept on leaking out of the bottom hole. So I ended up sealing up the bottom hole and filling it from the top, which I feel like worked out a lot better. Once it was filled up all the way to the top, I let it drain out just a little bit until it stopped draining, and then we sealed it shut with that top bolt. Then it was on to the next project of replacing the fuel petcock. What I discovered when going through the diagnosis of this engine was that the petcock's valve was seized, and I couldn't fix it, so I decided just to replace the whole thing. The only issues we really ran into with this project was just getting the hoses off of the petcock. Nothing a little elbow grease couldn't fix, and we eventually got it removed. The next item was replacing the fuel filter, which was pretty much the same process, just getting those old hoses off of the fuel filter. And it was kind of a pain, but you know, same thing, elbow grease, got the fuel filter removed. As soon as we got it off, we replaced it with the new one, and it was off to the next thing. Next, it was on to the real big project of the day, which was actually taking apart the carburetor and blowing out those jets. So we started taking off the carburetor off the engine, and once we got that all freed up, we moved it over to our workbench to start disassembling it. Once over at the workbench, we started dismantling, and we got the float bowl off, and it actually looked pretty clean inside the float bowl. There was a little bit of gunk, just a very minor bit of old fuel in the bottom, but nothing too serious. I was actually very surprised. But then once we took the jets out, they were actually looking pretty clogged, and I was kind of glad we took the carburetor apart. After we removed the jets, we soaked them for a long time in some carburetor cleaner just to get all that gunk out. Once we had them soaking for a good long while, we took them down to my buddy's shop and we blew them out with compressed air. After we finished that, we went back up to my carport to reassemble the carburetor. The reassembly was quite a success, and we got the carburetor back on the engine with no problems. So the final project was to put the new spark plug inside the engine. Once we finished installing the spark plug, it was on to our big moment, giving the engine a test run. Okay, so the moment is finally here. We've cleaned the carburetor, we've changed the oil, we've changed the gear oil, spark plug, we've replaced the throttle cable. We've done almost everything I could think of to get this thing ready to go. And I have yet to start this thing. I've never even pulled on this cord before, so I don't even know if it's actually even going to pull at all. So we're getting the bucket full here. I got the hose running up to the second deck of this building here. You know, we're ready to go. So let's give this a whirl. Okay, so we've moved locations. It was getting a little bit messy down there. So we moved over to the car washing station. A little bit less noisy, less echoey. So we're gonna try this again, I guess. So the engine was running, but it was obviously not running very well. It was definitely not idling, and I couldn't figure out why. It also didn't help that the bucket of water kept tipping over, and every time I'd go try to pick it up, I would end up getting completely douched. So I think I know what I might have done wrong. In the manual it says install the main nozzle, the main jet in the carburetor before installing, wait a second, yeah. Install the main nozzle in the carburetor body before installing the main jet. No, I did that. I don't know what I did. Alright, so I've been kind of letting it run for a while. I've let it run for about 10 to 15 minutes or so, and it's finally starting to idle on its own, which is great. So I think the idler jet is finally clear. And I think we're pretty good. I think we can call this almost a success here. That was a long day, a solid 8 hours of work we put in here. And I'm just glad that everything is working now. I was worried for a little bit, but now it's things are looking good. Alright. Well, it seemed like the engine just needed a little bit of runtime to burn off all that extra gunk that was stuck inside the carburetor somewhere. I stood by it for about 15 to 30 minutes, revving the engine up just in case it died, but finally we got it to idle on its own. So we called it a success story, packed up all of our belongings that were in the carport, and took the rest of the day off. Good morning, everybody. It is the next day. We are here in my bedroom. I have the dinghy laid out. I have the heater pumping, and it's about time to get this dinghy leak finally fixed. About a month ago, we actually discovered a leak in our dinghy in the port chamber. So I did a couple things to track down where that leak was from, and we ordered some glue also from the actual dinghy manufacturer. That was in episode 1, so if you haven't seen that episode, feel free to go back and check it out. But yeah, we got the leak right here. It's circled from that day where we found the leak. It's actually at a seam, so we're going to be inserting glue into this seam here. Yeah, so it's just about warm enough in here, so we're going to break out that glue and start getting this thing fixed. Alright guys, so here we go. We got our glue that Newport Vessels sent to us. They sent it at no cost for shipping, which was really nice of them. I just had to pay for the product itself, which I think was about $14 or so. We got a couple little tools that are going to be used to push the adhesive inside the seam. The first thing we're going to do is actually clean up this PVC. It's PVC material on this raft here, so we're just going to clean it up, make sure it's extra nice, no dirt, so the adhesive sticks on there really good. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's give that a second to dry, and then we'll put on the adhesive. So I started out using a very generous amount of adhesive on both the top and bottom of the compromised seam. With the use of my specialized adhesive moving zip tie tool, I made sure to get as much product as I could inside the seams. After finishing the first coat, I used a piece of white printer paper to hold the seam down while the adhesive dried. I did this for 20 minutes and repeated the process 2 more times. About an hour later, I finished the third coat and the seam was looking fairly robust. I would then wait a full 24 hours before putting air in the dinghy to test it all out. So that's going to be it for this week's episode, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a like. It really helps in the beginning stages of our YouTube channel. And then we'll be heading to Catalina tomorrow. So next Sunday, you will see the whole Catalina trip. There's going to be a lot of diving. We're going to scrub the bottom and do a couple other small boat projects as well. So yeah, tune in next Sunday to see that video. And yeah, so thanks again for watching, guys, and we'll see you later.